Bai Lu and Shen confront Dylan together, but what he saw next shocked him. It started on a quiet afternoon. The sun had barely slipped behind the city skyline when Bai Lu and Shen were seen together. Not in a scripted drama, not on a press tour, but in a private rooftop lounge in the middle of downtown, a place where stars go when they don't want to be seen. The cameras didn't catch it, but someone else did. A waiter. He recognized them immediately. He said they weren't laughing. They weren't smiling. They were talking seriously, with urgency. And they were waiting. Minutes later, Dylan Wang arrived. He walked in like he didn't expect to see them both. Like he had only agreed to meet one of them. But there they were. Both of them. And neither of them looked happy. The air was thick with silence. Not tension. Not anger. Just the kind of silence that comes before something breaks. Shen looked at Bai Lu. Bai Lu looked at Dylan. And the first question came. Are you in love with her? No name. No direction. Just the question. But everyone at the table knew who it was meant for. Dylan didn't answer. Instead, he looked down, like 1,000 moments from his past were racing through his mind. Scenes from sets. Private messages. Late-night phone calls. Silent walks after a long day of shooting. He looked at Shen, then at Bai Lu. And then he said something no one expected. I never really stopped loving either of you. Silence again. Shen blinked. Bai Lu swallowed hard. But, he continued, I don't know what love means anymore. Suddenly, Bai Lu stood up. Not in anger, but in heartbreak. The kind that doesn't come from betrayal, but from confusion. You don't get to say that, she said quietly. Not after everything you made us feel. Shen stood too. No more secrets. No more safe answers. We came here to get the truth, not poetry. And Dylan, he looked up at them both. He opened his mouth to speak, and then, the sky cracked open with thunder. He gasped. His eyes flew open. The ceiling was unfamiliar. His hands were shaking. He sat up quickly. It was his apartment. Not a rooftop lounge. Not a secret meeting. Just his bedroom. The city was quiet. His phone was on the nightstand. The time, 4:17 a.m. It had been a dream. All of it. The confrontation. The confession. The heartbreak. Gone like smoke in the wind. He got out of bed, walked to the mirror, and looked at himself. Why that dream? Why now? Because the truth is, sometimes your heart writes a story your mind has tried to forget. And in Dylan Wang's case, that story just wrote itself while he slept. And even though it wasn't real, the panic in his chest told him one thing clearly. Some dreams are more honest than reality. And some feelings don't stay buried forever. Dylan sat frozen as the wind moved around them on that rooftop. Bai Lu stood to his right, arms crossed but trembling. Shen was to his left, eyes glossy, voice calm yet cold. You lied to both of us, Bai Lu whispered. We deserved better, Shen added. He turned slowly, facing each of them, and his heart pounded in his chest. He tried to speak, but his throat tightened. The weight of everything, the secrets, the silences, the moments he thought he could forget, they were all here now. Bai Lu stepped forward. Do you love her more than me? Shen breath caught. Or am I just the one you run to when she's gone? Dylan shook his head. It's not like that. It was never like that. I loved both of you in different ways. But I lost myself trying to keep everything from falling apart. Shen voice cracked. You were never honest. Not with me. Not with her. And definitely not with yourself. The rooftop grew quiet. Only the faint sound of traffic below. The sun was setting now, casting gold light on their faces. Dylan reached for Shen hand, but she stepped back. He looked at Bai Lu, who was already walking away. Wait, he called out. They stopped. Both turned around one last time. We're done trying to fix a heart you keep breaking, Bai Lu said softly. Then the world around Dylan began to shift. The sky grew dimmer. The city blurred. The rooftop vanished. And suddenly, he gasped. Dylan woke up. Sweat covered his skin. His hands gripped his sheets. The room was dark. A digital clock read 3:27 a.m. His chest rose and fell rapidly. His heart was still racing. A dream. It was all a dream. He ran his fingers through his hair and sat up, trying to process the vividness. The tears in their eyes. The shaking in his voice. The words they spoke, so real, so sharp, so unforgettable. He reached for his phone. No missed calls. No messages. Just silence. But something had changed. Inside him. Because sometimes, dreams don't just vanish. They leave behind a weight. A memory. A warning. He stood, walked to the mirror, and stared at his reflection. Was that dream trying to tell him something? Or was it something he had been hiding from himself all along? Outside his window, the city slept. But inside Dylan's heart, something had woken up. A truth he could no longer escape. The morning sun broke through the blinds, but Dylan Wang hadn't slept again. That dream, no, that nightmare, refused to let go of him. Every word spoken by Lu and Shen in that dream echoed in his head as if they were real. Their disappointment, their anger, and the look in their eyes, those haunted him. He couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't a dream but a message. He reached for his phone. No new messages. No missed calls. Nothing from Lu. Nothing from Shen. Just silence. But silence speaks louder when your heart is filled with guilt. Dylan spent the day scrolling through old photos, behind-the-scenes clips from set, smiling selfies, shared laughter captured on camera. It all looked perfect. But now, he wondered if he had confused admiration for affection, chemistry for commitment. That night, the same dream returned. Only this time, it was darker. In the dream, he was no longer in the studio but walking down a long corridor. At the end stood Lu on one side, Shen on the other. They both held scripts, pages flying everywhere as wind howled through the hallway. Dylan called out to them, but they turned away, walking in opposite directions. And in that moment, he knew he had lost both. He woke again, this time with tears on his face. He had to fix things. Even if it wasn't real. Even if it was just a dream. The message was clear. Dylan got out of bed, opened his laptop, and began writing. A letter. Not a post. Not a tweet. A letter from the heart. One to Lu. One to Shen. It wasn't about getting them back, it was about accountability. He wrote everything. The fear, the confusion, the affection, the regret. And then he ended both letters the same way. I hope you find someone who never makes you doubt your worth. Even if it was never me. But here's where things twisted again. As he sealed the envelopes and reached for his coat to drop them off, the doorbell rang. He opened the door, and there they were. Lu and Shen standing side by side. Dylan blinked, unsure if this was another dream. Can we come in? Lu asked. He nodded, stepping aside, heart racing. They sat in silence for a while. No yelling, no accusations. Then Shen said calmly, You've been quiet for a while. We figured something happened. I had a dream, Dylan said, voice low. I thought I lost you both. Lu looked at him, softer this time. Dreams don't lie. But they also don't decide what happens next. He looked up, eyes filled with questions. So what now? Shen stood and walked to the door. Now we live. Not in dreams, not in fear, but in truth. Lu followed her, pausing just before stepping out. We're not here for drama anymore, Dylan. We're here for peace. Don't chase stories. Chase growth. And with that, they left, leaving Dylan stunned. Maybe the dream wasn't punishment. Maybe it was a second chance. But it was clear, the women had moved on. And now, so must he. He looked down at the letters he had written. Maybe he'd still send them. Or maybe he'd keep them, as a reminder that sometimes the deepest lessons come from the stories we live while asleep.